launch, same thing in the afternoon as Friday. And then again, that duplicates on Sunday. So 5 total launches with the hot air balloons each evening and the fireworks each evening, same type of format, plan, and schedule. This year, what's new is we have added a family run operation out of Springfield, Massachusetts to do amusement rides for us. They are going to do like a tilt-a-whirl is one of the items that they're going to be bringing. They also have a merry-go-round and a couple of other small, more geared towards smaller children type rides. Nothing big like a Ferris wheel. It's the first time that we're partnering with anyone like this, going back all the way to the early 2000s when we had done it last the waterfront. So you probably saw this past week, similar type operation, a little scaled down from there. They have an inspection that will take place by New York State on Friday. So Friday morning, we'll know whether or not they're approved to go. And I think that's what they're used to. To me, it stresses me out a little bit, as you can imagine. All these things already are enough stress. I have to have this on my plate. But they're used to it. And he said, you know, they wouldn't shut down the entire operation unless there was something significant that was off. You know, they didn't have the workers' comp and their insurance paperwork in line, for example, might close the whole operation. They've assured me that's not going to happen. I have their insurance, so I have a copy of that already. The town is already named on that. But they could potentially say to them, well, this particular ride is shut down until you repair this. So those are new things for me to learn, but we've done our homework and we're pretty pleased with what we've heard about this operation and organization. They're a legitimate organization, not an organization that pays cash to their employees, or everybody's on payroll. They use a lot of students that are out of school. So, you know, this will be a first time. We'll test them out and see how it goes. I think for both of us as a relationship, and if it works out, they may add on to what they bring this year and just supplement some of the items that they bring. So I'm excited to have them. I think it's going to be a nice addition, and it fills the time when, as you know, the hot air balloons aren't in the air and people are itching to do something, and especially with the kids running around and people are complaining they're not seeing balloons. So that is I think a pretty nice new addition. The parking situation, as I mentioned, will be shuttling. We'll have the same plan that we originally had a few years back. I have a map that has that on here, along with a tentative layout for the vendors. This is really the same as it was in the past. There's really nothing here that has changed other than just the amusement ride section, and then obviously the vendors move between different areas. You know, they pick and choose where they'd like to be at priority and so forth. The tents are all the same, the games are all the same locations, same places, and so on. The only thing that has changed on here that is of note that might be something you'd like to know is the emergency vehicle access, getting in and out of there with the rides in there, having enough space for the ambulance to get through, ample space if the fire truck had to get through. So we've left leeway for that in a corridor for that, so that way that parking lot stays open and they can get into the balloon field quickly and access in and out of there quickly. And there's nothing obstructing that in there. So that access has been slated for that parking area down below. So I have those maps and you're welcome to take those. I also have the red zone maps, which you're probably familiar with if you recall from last year. Those are the areas that we've heard from some of the landowners here in the surrounding immediate area. Nothing outside of it really to speak of that have just said to us, try to avoid landing in the space. Some are absolutely dead set against having the balloons anywhere near their property, no less flying over them or landing them. And then there's other individuals that just want us to avoid certain areas, and some individuals that have requested that they're not going to be around. It's a gated house, and you know they don't want to land there. There's no way for them to get out. Certainly want to respect that. So we create these maps for the balloonists. We publicize this only to them. It doesn't go out to the public. It's only for the balloonists to see. It has the parcels on there. They enter this now into an app, which is this is the first year the app is out for balloonists. So it's technology that they're using, and they'll enter these parcels into the map, and it'll tell them as they fly where those zones are, and they'll be more aware of it. FAA regulation does tell them if in any emergency that there's any imminent danger, they're low on fuel, for example, there's an impending thunderstorm that rolls through that wasn't on the radar, something crops up, those emergencies happen. FAA tells them they can land on any property
Good. Yeah, they have to, really.
They have to be able to land on the property in an emergent situation, because that question did come up.
Mhm.
But, we haven't had that happen in the past, but I have to say, these are balloonists that are very respectful of, and they want to know where these zones are. They don't want to step on any toes, and they don't want to hurt the festival in any way, because they want to come back.
Sure.
So they're by and large very respectful of it. So I have that map as well. And so anyone that's in the public that is listening and they are considering maybe putting their property on here, we're happy to do that. But I would say that the balloonists are very respectful of property. And if someone says, yeah, you can land here, but I want you to carry the balloon out and not bring a vehicle on, they can do that. Most people are allowed to come right on the property. Being as wet as it is, I think they will probably refrain from driving on properties if they can.
Yeah.
That'll be a challenge for them to get their vehicles out anyway. Bathrooms was a challenge last year. We felt like we were under, the setup was not enough, but I think the setup was part of the problem. We had them in a U shape. The one line formed in that U shape. So we changed that. We added bathrooms to it. Now, when you're looking at it, you can see what's red and what's green. Half the bathrooms weren't used. People were waiting online for nothing because they're standing there.
Oh, God.
They didn't see that the other ones were all available to them. So you just have to think for people sometimes. So we made that change. No helicopters this year. That's another major change. The helicopter company that we previously used, Heather Howley, an independent helicopter, and I had a conversation, and she just didn't feel as though that this was the right venue for it. Flying in and out of here, there's so many residential houses. She doesn't like buzzing over them. And I totally get it. There's only one direction she can fly in and out of here, which is really heading out towards Wingdale. That doesn't really.
I really like that. That was one big part of it.
I agree. I thought it was a fun element.
Yeah.
It added something unique to it, but she really felt it wasn't the best for the area. So it's not the best flying for them. And she would know. We are also adding more food. If you remember, the vendors were very jam-packed.
Yeah.
My hope is that we're able to put enough people through to make them happy, but not have too many vendors, so that they're, it's that fine line.
Yeah.
You could have bad weather and nobody makes money. You could have great weather and everybody's making too much money and the lines are crazy. Yeah. So there's
stuff
that
to balance it. Yeah.
Light towers, we added a couple of additional light towers just in some holes that I felt needed some additional lighting last year. Having going through it year over year, you kind of pick these little things up, and we have debriefing with our staff and all the volunteers, send out surveys to the vendors and so on. So we get a lot of this feedback, and that's where a lot of these changes come from. Last year we had bag security checks. This year we're adding wanding to that, so metal detecting wanding to it, so people will have to empty their pockets and go through a bag, not only the bag check, but just go through wanding as well, pocket knives, those type of things. I don't know what the security will ask people not to have on them. I don't know if a pocket knife is acceptable. So I have to have that conversation with security yet. Some places let them have it, some places don't. You're kind of in a place here where we're in a rural area. A lot of people carry a pocket knife. I bet you don't leave home with that one, right? I bet you're right. Yeah, so if I'm working around the house, I do the same, but so, that's something that to take into consideration. How do you make somebody go back to their vehicle? And then now you're shuttling people in from the school.
It's a long trip back.
It's a long trip back. These are all things that you have to take into consideration when you do this. It's stuff that I've run into before. And my family being involved with the Headless Horseman rides, and we run into this. We shuttle, do the same things, the bonding and security checks, and bag checks, and so on. So very familiar with it. Garbage cleanup, same plan. I think it went well. It took us a little longer than we wanted to last year to get it all cleaned up. It took us about 3 solid days because you have that Labor Day where a lot of people are off.
Sure.
I brought in another 4 additional people to help us do the cleanup, so that way it's not.
And they did a good job.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. There wasn't a spot that I didn't walk myself just to make sure it wasn't right.
Yeah,
that's the way I like to do it. The neighbor letters I mentioned had gone out, so I have a copy of that as well. That went with only to a couple of people that received the red zone. Actually, only one person received the red zone map that asked to see it to make sure the property was on it. And then everyone received the property letters as well. You're welcome to take a look at that. That letter really is by and large the same. It's just notifying everyone that it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, the balloonists will be respectful. There's a little language in there that we added last year for the first time about the hot air balloons, educating them, because people were calling the sheriff's department saying a hot air balloon crashed. And what's happening is the balloonists use the trees to slow down. So as the winds are pushing them, it's a method of theirs to slow the balloon down before they descend and drop. So they lose airspeed. So they do what they call treetop, and those people will see them going through the trees, and they'll hear, you know, the leaves and the everything scraping against that basket, which makes a lot of noise and the echoes, and people will start calling the sheriff's department. There's a hot air balloon that just crashed in my backyard, and it's not what's happening. So the sheriff's department a couple of years ago received a lot of calls for that, and we ended up finding out through the grapevine. So educating people, just letting them know, I think is important. And that is a method
Yeah,
there
definitely.
of, it's actually an approved FAA method of theirs to
Mhm.
slow
Wow.
them down and navigate. Safety and training, our staff goes through a crowd management safety training course. So, you know, if there's any type of impending weather, again, that crops up, a thunderstorm or something like that, they know exactly what to do, how to handle those situations. And the lost child is a good example. We always run into that. Last year, we had the same lost child twice from the same mother. And it was the only lost child all weekend. In terms of that child was a
The
challenge.
mother was the problem. The mother was the problem.
Yeah. Another change that we did make, and something that we received quite a few complaints on, was the fencing. And as people were coming down off the hill, they were going down underneath the ropes and so forth. And I kind of went back and forth in my mind and hashing it out as to how to prevent that. We put some volunteers up there, and I said, gee, if I'm going to pay people to stand up there, paid staff, it doesn't make any sense for the, you know, $1,000 maybe we lose. I'm going to spend $2,000 and putting somebody up there all weekend long.
Yeah.
So let it be. And, you know, people aren't going to be honest. It's going to be what it
It's a
is.
shame, yeah.
So enough complaints came in last year that we said, just from the optics standpoint, let's put up a fence there that's temporary, not a snow fence, what you would think of like a construction snow fence. I didn't like the look of, I know they make it in green, but I didn't like the look of that orange fence that they would typically put up temporary. So I bought construction mesh. So the construction mesh will go up along that corridor there.
Mhm.
If we're able to park, then it solves the
Yeah.
problem. If we're not able to park, I guess I'm putting it up for nothing. It is what it is.
Sure.
So, but we invested in those type of things. So all those little details make a difference, just to refine it, make it safer. And you don't have people going under ropes. That's always a concern too. It's a trip factor. So it does make it a little bit safer. And we did add a couple little other refinements just to get people's attention for traffic flow, where the entrance is. So we got the big upright flags that you would see at a car wash or a business, just to draw their attention, and people can point to there's their entrances down by the flags, and just make it go over smoother and easier.
Good.
So that'll happen down in front of town hall as they come down the hill, if we're able to park there. Really put a lot of thought into this. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of detail. Yeah. It's
Tremendous. amount, yeah.
really a
So
lot of
are you gonna
detail.
Still have the tethered balloon?
Tethered balloons, we'll have 2 tethered
Good.
balloons back again.
Good.
Um,
People love those.
the same gentleman that did it last year, he's familiar with the topography and the terrain, and he's a pilot that does it for a living. That's what he does. He's up in Canada right now at the festival, and we get a lot of commercial pilots. There was a little hiccup this year, just for more knowledge of yours, but the FAA has changed their rules in the way the pilots keep their license. They now need to go through a biannual physical, as opposed to just an annual physical. So twice a year they have to go. Well, the FAA put that instituted that new regulation, but they didn't add staff. So you have to figure, now you're getting twice the number of people that you have to review across some of
With
the
the same
staff.
staff.
With the same staff. So naturally they're behind.
Mhm.
A lot of pilots were not, they got their first one because they're used to getting their annual on their regular basis, but the second one hasn't come through. So a lot of pilots that we typically would receive here, unfortunately, have not received their second annual and will be coming.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
there was a couple that will come, even though that they don't have their annual, they can still fly as a private pilot, which only means 1 annual a year. And those commercial pilots will only fly, but they can't fly paying passengers until they receive that second. So there's a little navigating nightmare that we've been dealing with, and just on the way here, I received the call that the pilots got their annual today. So
Oh, wow.
but we're aiming for 25 hot air balloons. We were at 20 last year, so we're hoping to add a few more rooms, and it's more food. We have to feed them, and you know.
Wow, yeah.
But, by and
What
large,
about your drink tent?
so
you have a
we
band
did
last
lose
year?
Sloop Brewing Company this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music, live music and the beer and wine still there. We did lose the partnership with Sloop Brewing Company. They could not staff it last year appropriately. It felt like they really hurt their own business down in Fishkill. That they were pulling staffing from their location. That's their bread and butter. They felt it was hurting themselves when it was helping themselves to brand. So they just felt like, not doing that was the best decision they could make. So that put the burden back on us, which we had done when we were at the Dutchess County Fair. So we went back through the SLA permitting process, which the SLA, you won't get that until 2 days before. So hopefully they don't have any issues with it. And we shouldn't. It's really the same as we had in the past, same organization, nothing's really changed, less attendance, if anything, same plan. Same, even the tent is pretty much the same, layout is the same, the bar is pretty much the same as what we've had, even up at the fairgrounds. So I don't think that'll be an issue, but that'll have to be posted anyway in order to serve. And it's a temporary 3-day, and I think we can do that for some of your events here.
Yep.
Other
Good.
than that, I think we've covered all the bases. I don't know if you have any questions or thoughts or concerns or.
Now, the British Swim Club, they're not coming, right? Or are they?
Yeah, they're not. No, they really wanted to do something in the pool, and it's felt like square peg round hole.
Yeah, okay.
That part, I would really love to activate that side of the park. It's something that people don't get to see over there. There's a couple challenges there with it. One, I think the playground, I prefer not to have the kids on it. Part of me says that, because I have no way to really monitor that. I think we're going to end up with a lot more injuries, and we're dependent on a volunteer for the fire department that, that potentially could be a risk area. So I don't necessarily want to make that a highlight. And I would love to be able to utilize the pavilions and the stage over there. I just feel like it's so separated. Even the balloonists want to use that area. The balloonists wanted, if you recall, during Oktoberfest, we launched out of there.
That meadow was
That
was
meadow,
nice.
a wedding, it was a
they love that meadow
engagement or something.
to launch out of because there's no wind, you're protected.
Yeah.
So you can put the balloon up safely and not have the winds really have that much effect. So you can do it in a higher degree of wind over there. And they really want to launch a couple balloons out of there. They may even put a couple over there this year if they're running tight on space. If we're too wet down there to get vehicles in, they gotta stick a couple out there away from the crowds. Crowds won't even go there until they're up in the air. Yeah. So, but it is a very separated over there.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. If I did eventually do something in that part of the park, I would want to have people in with the playground, just making sure there's no.
Right. Yeah, we have to do that for camp. Yeah.
So. Yeah, otherwise, I think everything else is very well the same. I'm going to leave you with these materials. The Hot Air Balloon Tribune is here. And that gives some of the schedule. It's not full because this came out in the beginning of the month and there's some things that filled in that aren't on here quite yet, but minor stuff. It's presentations from the pilots, for example, may not be on here at times, those type of things.
But it's a lot to do. I tell you, the property owners really appreciate your careful consideration of their property rights and the fact that you let them know and that they can be in a red zone. They really understand, the fact that you understand that and respect it is really important to us also because of, they're property owners. We want to respect them. But most of them don't, and they don't mind, and they like seeing. We had a couple of parties at some of those landings last year. We heard about, remember, like people bringing out food to go with drinks. They had a good time. So
that's part of the tradition. When the hot air balloonists land, we give them cases of champagne to have a toast. And it's, they'll break out a bottle of champagne, pop it open for whoever's on board, and they each propose a toast. I guess when they get there, they do a cheese board and some of them, and they make a big deal about it. And they have this year we did institute landowner cards, which is something new for us. The idea came from another festival out west where they give out a landowner card, and then if they land on your property, you fill the card out, give it back to the pilot before they pack up and leave, and then you'll get entered into a drawing, and there's going to be prizes and so forth. So at the end of the weekend, we'll pull out people, and some of the things we may do are give them flights for next year and pull out some of the names out of there. It'll also help us with gathering some of the data where some of these folks land, because we don't always know that. Last year we had a couple of anecdotal things, gentleman came back and said, I landed over at the place down, I don't even know the road, it's down, you go down, you make a left, and it's one of the farms down there. And you get a lot of that from them because they're not from the area.
Yeah.
So it's nice to know where they're landing, and then at the end, we can always send them a thank you.
Mhm.
You know, so I think it's going to be good for us to collect that data, and then in the future, be able to use that as a list also to send to people, letting them know that it's coming again. Help
That's
us
good.
not have to physically put these in the boxes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Alfreda has a question behind you.
No extra. I heard you want a prize this year. No, it's all don't go well together. I think we made that gentleman. Yeah,
Oh, boy.
that was popular.
Thank you.
$25 they charged.
Wow. Nobody got hurt.
It's pretty safe the way they have it set up.
Oh, good. Walking by quickly, it doesn't look like it. So that's, I guess that's part of the draw.
Yeah, pretty safe.
So it was fun. It was beautiful last year. You're a very good organizer. We trust you to put everything together. We're glad to have you back. You do a good job.
You know, if there's
Yeah.
any safety concerns, please let us know. That's always the biggest top of mind issues that I'd like to address before they go.
Yeah.
And if, you know, somebody tells me after the fact and we're already up and running, it's a lot harder to address it than it is in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, if anyone's listening and they saw something last year that they didn't like or thought might be a concern, I know the very first year we were here, coming down the hill was a very big concern, the speed that people travel on Russell Road.
Yeah.
And we have, and we put up additional signage and
Yeah, that was very helpful.
slowed that down, put some lights out on there. So, yeah.
And the constables will all be here. We'll have 5 this year. So like last year, we'll have good numbers. And the other police will stop by. And I mean, you've got some security. I think everybody should feel safe.
I hope we leave the park just as in good a shape for Jake. Don't tear it up. The year we were here with the rain was terrible. We left ruts and it was a mess, and we did our best to try to fix everything, but
Oh,
the way the grounds are here, it's tough with the hills and topography.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm certain we'll probably be up to the equestrian center again. That seems to be the best ground here on the property. With parking, for some reason, it rains.
It's more gravel there, yeah.
Yeah, everything's wet. So, but that's what we have. Any other questions or thoughts, concerns?
Nope, thanks, Roy. You have a
We're
good
getting
time.
up really well now. We
Oh,
need to-
yeah. I'll leave you with these. You're welcome to those and pass them all around here. So we
Okay.
can interrupt your meeting.
Thank you.
That's great, Frank. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
See you in a couple of weeks.
Glad to
Yeah,
have you.
we'll be here. If there's anything that you need in the interim, let me know.
No, thanks for
Fair enough.
being here.
Yeah, pleasure.
All right.
See you.
see you soon.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay, it's 8 o'clock. So I was gonna ask everybody to stand again, because we didn't do it when we saluted the flag. I wanted to have a moment of silence. So if I really wanted to have a moment of silence for anyone suffering from an illness that happens to be spending time in the hospital. We have a very good friend, if you all recall, Mark Del Vecchio. We sent an ad out about the man needing the kidney, and he's in the hospital right now. He's got an infection. He's waiting to get his body in shape to receive a kidney.
Oh, good.
And so we're hoping, not only do we want to have a moment of silence for Mark Del Vecchio in hopes that he gets that kidney soon, but also for everybody else, because there's an awful lot of people we're hearing about that have
Mhm.
been ill or ill, and I think we need to think about them for a moment. Right, wish everyone a speedy recovery. Thank you very much for that. Sure. I was gonna make some announcements. So first of all, as far as the town board meeting goes, I think we should approve the minutes. Everybody's got the minutes
From July 19th,
from July
make the
19th.
motion to approve it.
Is there a second? All right, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great, consider that approved. I'll give a quick, well, not really that quick, the supervisor's report. I wanted to say, first of all, when we last met, it was July 19th, and then we had community night on the 22nd,
Right, 3 days later.
which was a beautiful, the weather, now, we were lucky. We had beautiful weather that night, and we had fireworks that were wonderful.
Parking lot, was- the hill was dry for
The
parking.
hill was dry, the tailgating at town hall is a big hit. It's a very laid back Union Bell style party. but it was very nice. But it doesn't match the picture I took last year from way down there of the hill filled with everybody at the balloon fest. It looked like they were Woodstock or something. That whole hill was full. So it wasn't like that. It was on one side, but the music was blaring and we had a good time. So we hope to get another good picture on dry land with you.
I hope the weather's fine.
Yeah, we hope so too. Thanks for everything. So, community night, big success. I think we got a lot of comments. People had a good time. I wanted to make a few other announcements. First of all, I've been at the recycling center a lot lately because we're retooling the way we handle the redemptions, you know, the bottles and the plastic Poland Springs bottles, the large containers, anything that's a deposit only. So we're redoing that, we're retooling it, and we're requesting that the residents sort their own soft drink cans and plastic bottles instead of having somebody do it for them. Tom Farmer recently retired, and so when we went over there, he asked, we're taking it back over, the town's taking that job function back over. Now we love taking the job function back over. Don't get me wrong, but the main thing is you can't believe how much stuff gets thrown away over there, which is very good. And if we sort and if we get all the residents to sort it in these different containers that are as labeled, all of that stuff stays out of a landfill, which we're thrilled about. And also if we don't know what the volume is like, we did clean up a backlog when we first got there, and now with residents helping us sort it, there won't be a backlog. It'll be emptied out every week. And we have no idea what the volume is, but somebody did ask me if there was any money to be had, what we're going to do with it. And I think what we'll do with it is just keep it at the recycling center to try to keep from having to raise prices. And I mention it because recycling has gone bazonk. The prices are out of control. What we used to spend a month over at a recycling center when we take our containers and have them emptied and sorted in Beacon was $850 a month. We just signed the bill for July that's in there, and it was $2,600 for July.
More than 3 times.
So it's a commodity, prices are all over the place. So if anything does come back from these bottles, we'll keep it there. And our real effort is, it's not a profit center. It's a place where we can provide a good service. It's a cult. There's definitely a cult following over there. People love going there. We have we keep everything out of the landfill, and we provide a service that's less expensive than others. And we want to keep operating it. And if we operate it just flat, we're happy with that. So that's what's going on in the recycling center. But I have to tell you, I wanted to make a special mention tonight because when you hang out at the recycling center, there's all kinds of things that you learn. But this is one thing, a very special announcement. So Mike Novak, everybody knows, works there. One of the 2 gentlemen. We have Pete in the booth, and we have Mike Novak. But Gloria Lopez Novak, Mike's wife, just earned her Master of Science in Nursing with a specialization in nursing administration. And I'm not sure exactly how old Gloria is. She's a beautiful woman who works really hard. And the fact that she got a master's degree and she's also got a specialization in administration is extremely impressive. And I just wanted to share that with people. Sometimes you have to hang out there to learn these good things. But congratulations. Well done, Gloria. I also really want to thank the parks crew, because when we found out Tom was retiring, and then I wasn't sure which month he was retiring, and all of a sudden he was retiring, we had to run over there and sort all these bags. And then we found a lot of bags in the sheds that were there. There was a lot to do. I called Jake and said, I need some help. We got to get this stuff sorted because Pete really can't do it. Mike can't do it. They're both busy there. And they dropped everything and they came over to help. Dan Mahoney was here his first day of work. Jake sent him to help me, and he had to load the truck up and get all those bags and cans out of there. But between Dan and Vinny and Adam and Jake, we have just the most superb crew that just, if you need them, they're there. And I can't thank them enough. We got everything caught up as quickly as we could. They're just an outstanding group, and I really want to thank all of them for that. I also wanted to say that a couple of other announcements. Ed, I have the equipment garage paperwork from our friend to finish up the work at the equipment garage. I wanted to talk to you about that. We can do that tomorrow when we're together and sign the paperwork. And he's ready to come in and finish. There were some imperfections there, and he's going to replace the roof. So in time for the holidays, or the winter rather. Also tomorrow, I want to make sure people understand that we have Katie and I have a very important meeting with the gentleman that runs streams and wetlands at the DEC, who's coming from their office in New Paltz. And we've got to show them some very specific issues that are detrimental, that are hard on the town, stream related, house related. There's lots of flooding. And we're going to go show them some things to find out what can be done, because we can't, Ed can do anything in the world practically, right, Ed? But he's got to get DEC permission for a lot of this stuff. And we need them to inform us as to what we can do to fix some of these water problems. And then we're gonna look at a few residences as well to see if we can clean up processes for permits for people whose own private bridges blew out and stuff. So anyway, if anybody hears this and you have a DEC request on target or in the hopper that you'd like us to maybe address tomorrow, if it's possible, we can try. We're going to be taking a list, so call me tomorrow or call the town clerk's office and she'll send you over. All right, but that's a big meeting and we're glad that they came all this way. And I wanted to thank Assemblyman Pan because he helped organize that meeting for us. And then two more things, FEMA. So today, Danielle and I, we spent time, we applied for, today was the deadline, and we submitted all our paperwork, not on the numbers, but we got the initial, FEMA, they've approved help for municipalities for the flooding that took place. That paperwork went in to say we claim mistake. We'll be talking to them soon. So we'll have to get the engineering report from Tom on that bridge and stuff like that. So we can we got to start getting the paperwork together. They'll be in touch, but at least we got our claim in. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention, and then I'll do quick numbers, that there were two additions to the agenda that I may not have typed in quick enough because we had already posted it yesterday. Number one, there's a local law. Number two, resolution of introduction. And that is, I think I did put it on the final version that people have. And that is to delete the residency requirements for constables. That's in your packages. We've been talking about this for months. I mean, I think it was March or April when we first started. And so now we have a resolution of introduction, which means in the next month's meeting, there will be a public hearing about it. And then also, I didn't type this in time, but I'm thrilled tonight to have Cassandra Redinger, who is the president of our historical society. So when that agenda portion comes up, Cassandra is going to join us and give us an update. So thank you for being here. So we'll get to that in just a minute. Now, my numbers, the supervisor's reporting numbers, I'll be brief about those because all those reports went out. But we did have a pickup, and some of this is sales tax, but the revenue in through the month of July, we're now at 112%. So we're 12% over budget, which is great. And we're at 97% of our expenses. So
excellent.
3% below, which is a good sign. So cash flow has been strong. Our departments are doing well. I haven't seen how the summer camp is shaken out yet. Our cash hasn't changed that much. We have not filed for CHIPS yet, but we'll probably do that early next week. And then the CHIPS money will come in, so your balances will go up. But I'm going to say it's $3,849,789 in the general fund, and that's all in, and it's everything. 521,113 in the highway fund, so a balance of 4.4. But the highway fund also has money in reserves that we keep saving every year, so we can buy some important, very expensive equipment that they use over there. You guys also have your building report. We have an escrow report. All the normal reports are out, and everybody can study those. So I'm not going to go through all that. Those are always available. And then I would like to say our September 6th work session. This is I'm mentioning this in case it's an open meeting, but we don't. It's the work sessions that we have for the town board on the first Wednesday of the month. I mean, I really appreciate those because there is no agenda. I mean, I put things together for us to talk about, but what it does is without having an agenda, it's not a legislative session. It means that we can say, these are our topics tonight. We need to dive in a little more in depth. So our topics, and I sent you this in an email, so you guys pretty much know, and Mr. Kading will be there and George Cole will be with us. And we're going to be talking about some highway discussions, things about how some of these private driveways and culverts are definitely on there. We need to start helping people with policy. The short-term rental issue, because we've got some comments from, we didn't get formal comments back. I'll explain that during the meeting. But anyway, we're going to dive into the short-term rentals, the highway discussion, and we will have an executive session that night, which we'll do last in case people want to come. The executive session will be about security, buying new security systems and what we want and what we don't. We have some things to talk about that night. Some numbers, we got everything. Okay, so the last mention is reforestation of Unionvale will be back. The Girl Scouts will be helping us. They're still working on who's doing what. We're targeting Saturday, October 14th. So in October, past our very busy September. But remember, that's when Mr. Brian Skorlick, who does a fabulous job for us, we let him know how many trees the Parks Department and the Highway Department had to get rid of, either through death or because they were unsafe. that you chop them down and you carry them away, and then in the town of Unionville, we like to replant them. So we get numbers. Brian Skorlick goes out and gets those trees for us. Residents will donate $5 a tree, and we'll plant them in the parks, and we can start planting them along roads if Ed wants them in a certain place for shade purposes, and he'll help us with that far enough away. So 50 years from now, they won't be a problem. But anyway, reforestation is really kind of a neat thing that Unionville does, and that's coming again on October 14th. And Josh Redinger will be here to talk about that next month. All right, so I believe that's everything I had on my list for this evening. As far as the budget schedule goes, I did mention it. We will start having our public, I'll bring that out. I'm going to email that to you and we'll post it, but we're going to start having public hearings to hear if anybody has any ideas about anything. The department head meetings are starting next week, so I can gather all of their wish list items and their budgets.
Yeah,
Show you, and then our tentative budget is due on the last day of September. So I'll be meeting with department heads and then the board in September, and we'll work it all out, and then we'll have the first round available to the public
Fair
at the end of
enough.
September. Okay, all right.
good.
So that's it for me, unless anybody has any questions. We're gonna go right to board member reports. Want to start on my left here, Councilman Welsh?
Yeah, I just like to comment number one, that community night was very successful, very worthwhile, certainly enjoyed by the public. Recently I've been working on this Gaelic football field, the update, reviewing our fields, our capabilities, and future planning for
It's on here.
improving them.
Yeah. We'll get that. That's good. And other things that we talk
Yeah,
about
other things.
every other day. Yes. That seems like there's always something. Thank you. Councilman Derling?
I think I'll just mimic what you just said, pretty much. We're
Lot.
both working on the same thing, so,
Yeah, that's great. And we got more in depth that you're gonna be put
Yeah.
on soon.
yes.
All right, Councilman Gusikoff?
Two things. So I really wanted to commend Frank Costello. I think he does a fabulous job as far as security and everything else.
Yeah,
It seems like he definitely wants to partnership with us for the future with the hot air balloon
yeah,
festival. I think he does a fantastic job. Glad he doesn't look elsewhere to do it. I think it's a great party to
A
hear.
nice thing for us, yeah.
And then secondly, I'm at like a stalemate with the plow truck for Ed. And I know why, because there's many parts that I had to send out to get sandblasted, and they're really, I don't know, everybody knows, it's just very hard. The workforce right now is very hard, and I think that's what he's using as his excuse why we're slacking for so long. So I can't really go much more forward than where we're at until I get those parts back. So he promised me 2 more weeks.
We're fine.
Well, we're fine now, but the snowflakes start to fall.
yeah.
It is
But he has other-
it is our second spare.
Yes, I'd like to get it going, so I'll keep you guys posted as we.
All right, well, thanks for doing such a great job. I'm
Take
sure
up space in your
The first
shop.
drop. They're really,
It's a big paperweight.
Yeah.
they're real nice job on the first trip.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Worth waiting a little for the second.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Councilman. Terrific. Okay. Town Highway Superintendent report. You've been
Well-
busy, a very busy man.
As I think everybody knows, we have been hit with 3 major rainstorms
Mhm.
in the past month.
Yeah,
So we start getting ahead and then we get another storm. So as of right now, well, I beat Saturday night storm that we had into Sunday morning. We had damage on West Clove Road, on the dirt and the blacktop, Bloomer Road, Robinwood, Barmore, Oswego, Cole, Sealy, and Manila. Most of it's been to the point where it's all passable now. Our worst road right now and challenge is West Clove Mountain Road on the blacktop side. We had a driveway pipe fail, and the rainwater went around the pipe and took out the opposite side of the road. So we're working on that. The other challenge that we have as a crew right now is we're down 25% of our crew. There's only 4 guys and 1 guy out. It's been a little bit rougher. On the upside, though, there's always an upside. The county highway department ground off 2 inches of asphalt off of Chestnut Ridge Road
which they gave the town to use. So we'll be using that for shoulder material and fill material. So it's really good stuff. So we're pleased to have that. So
Are they putting it back on
Pardon?
Chestnut Ridge? What are they, I know they're putting those.
they're
big
gonna
blocks up.
repave it with new blacktop.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice.
So we got those mountains, that's great.
The mountain, no
Yeah.
ones I heard.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
good
lot
stuff to
there.
have
There's a lot there.
this year, this year.
After the first storm, the material that we made 3 years ago is depleted now, so.
3 years that lasted.
Yeah, we had to buy material for the second storm,
Mhm.
a little bit for this third storm, but now we have this other material, so.
Oh, that's great.
it'll be good. So,
No, they've been good partners for us. They did call one night. They said they got multiple calls about the berm on the corner.
Oh, yeah, I got calls on that too.
On the berm, and Jake and I we're talking about it, and they sent somebody, the county sent somebody over to mow the berm.
They did.
And they did, and then, so Gary Cooper called and wanted me to know that. What he wanted to know what the heck we were gonna do with that berm, because they were gonna have to take it out. I said, you can't take it out. Bob Balkine told us we could put it in. He said, oh. No, they don't tell. They forgot to tell them. And I said, well, what's wrong with it? And I think what it is that it just had all these wild plants.
Yeah,
So from
it-
one angle,
Like weed patch.
yeah.
Yeah, they didn't.
So
Sure.
we're gonna ask the CAC to take a look, because there's some very talented ladies that plant things and
That
grow.
was the original plan, is to have them
Yeah,
plant that out, and then we put the post and rail fence on.
yeah, are we gonna still put the post rail on it, do you think? Okay, does that help? I mean, we don't have to have it.
Helps,
We don't have to have.
balances the other side.
Yeah, that's the thing, it balances the
Yeah.
other side, so it's gonna be hard to make it aesthetically pretty, but we'll talk to them about
Let's plan it out properly, that'd be fine, I think.
low growing.
Yeah.
'Cause those
Yeah,
are my-
definitely low growing something.
Definitely low growing. But anyway, they've been very nice to work with. The county's been a big help.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
Yeah, but thank you, and your guys have been getting a lot done. It's been working
Trying.
Yeah,
weekends.
working hard.
Yeah, but thanks, we really appreciate it. And tomorrow, I hope we have a very successful day with that. Okay, town clerk report.
Again, shredding day, document shredding day is scheduled for Wednesday, September 27th, excuse me. And also the sportsman hunting permits are available for sale at my office, or really any office that sells them, which is every town clerk's office and Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods. So, yeah, it's open season.
Great, thanks so much. Okay, any public comments on agenda items? No, everybody here is going to be speaking anyway. We hope. Okay, we'll move on to our board and committee and council reports. First up, we have from the Unionville Library, Art Mattiello, the Secretary, Board of the Trustees. Do you want to sit right there, Art? And then this camera right here will go on you. Will appear. I didn't realize.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
Remember that. Night Ed. I remember to have put the screens on when you're sitting. There. Good evening, Mr. Mattiello.
Good evening. Thank
Join
you
us.
for having me. How are you all?
Good.
Good. So I have some notes, so I'll try and keep it brief, but the library trustees have been busy. Since I've been here, the last time we have hired a library director. We interviewed 5 to 6 candidates a couple of weeks ago. We did it in a 2-day interview spree. Some of us were live, others were on Zoom. Everybody came in, and we actually came down to 2 people, 2 candidates, and one of them accepted the job, and that's Megan Fritzy. And I don't know if you've met her yet, but she is,
unfortunately, not yet.
she's
She's
amazing.
coming to our meeting next month.
Yes, so she'll be here next month. And we've already seen a difference in, she's just hit the ground running. So she's pretty amazing, and I'll just go through what she's been doing. So on a sad note, Janet Myers resigned due to conflict with work and scheduling. So the Board of Trustees accepted with regret her resignation. Obviously, we were appreciative of the time she spent with the
Mhm.
time we've all been trustees, so that was sad. And now we're currently seeking a replacement. So if you know anybody wants to come on the Board of Trustees and help us get this great library going, we would appreciate it. Okay, so the first order of business that now that we have our director, we can focus on the library charter. For us to start moving forward, we need to be chartered. And there's it's almost like a catch-22. You can't be chartered until you do certain things. So Megan has taken the task of helping us with the charter. Some of the goal is to get chartered as soon as possible. I mean, I know we have an aggressive schedule, but that's the priority now. Part of the charter requires library policies. So Megan has put together, with her background and her experience, library policies, and she's finished them up. We have our next meeting this Tuesday, actually, with Megan coming to our board meeting to present the policy. She actually sent them out to us, and we as the trustees need to tweak them and then vote on them on Tuesday to accept them. So so that's what we're doing. We're reviewing them. Megan has also put a long-range plan together. Since I've been on the board, well, we all started at the same time with this board, and we all had these ideas, and we were keeping a log as to what we should be doing, what kind of programs, what do we have to do with the temporary building, and then with the final building. So what Megan did is put all these plans together and created a long plan, right? Long range plan,
Yeah.
right? Thank you. And within that, there's certain things that we're reviewing and we need to vote on. So that's part of again, with the charter application, you need to have a long range plan. And then the building lease, we're going to be working with you all on the building lease, get that finalized and then signed so that we have the building ready to go. We also need to do opening day collection. And so we're working with Baker and Taylor, and that's going to start as soon as possible as well, so that we can start working with them and get the open day collection moving forward so that we can get chartered. And then there's other items that I don't really want to get into with what needs to be done with the charter. So those are all part of the long range plan and the plan to get chartered.
Great.
Okay. The other things that we've also done is our social media has been updated. So Megan created a UV library for Facebook, Instagram, and we also updated the library services website. So if you go out to our Unionville website and you click on library services, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, and then the Facebook page is great, the Instagram. So
So you start at the Unionville website.
yes,
You go to the same tab we've had before.
yes.
That was tired, the library services one, she's upgraded everything.
She's up
And
new
there-
pictures, new click, point and shoot and all this stuff. It's
Great,
self-explanatory, very
Instagram.
intuitive.
good.
It's like, wow, is this what we needed?
Yeah.
And then the Facebook page is getting there. So tell all your friends, like it, follow it, and this is the Instagram. So right
Yeah.
now we're just doing Facebook and Instagram. I'm sure like the kids have, another social media website that they don't want mommy and daddy on. So we'll find those and get on that. The next item that we've been doing, we're going to start doing is we're going to go out to our neighboring libraries. This is something Rebecca recommended. We still have our one-on-one meetings with Rebecca, and she recommended that we do this. So we as library trustees, and we go out to the other libraries and do a tour and see what they're doing, what's successful, what works for them, what doesn't work. How do we want to incorporate that into our library? So we're going to start doing that, make schedules, reach out to our neighboring libraries, and then go further out. The other thing is Megan has already reached out to the neighboring library directors, Millbrook and LaGrange, Hopewell, all these other libraries, and she's already reached out to her peers to meet with them.
Good.
And some of them are scheduled and some are waiting to hear back. But she's also reached out to the Unionville school principal, see what we can do there with the school. And Megan has already reached out to the Mid-Hudson Library Director, Rebecca. They had a meeting the other day. So that went very well. Okay, and then what else are we doing? Trustees and the director. We, the trustees, have been attending monthly training sessions with the Mid Hudson Library services. And that's anything, you remember when I first interviewed with you for the job? I had that thick handbook for trustees.
Yeah,
Well, what they do is on a monthly basis, they go through each chapter and deep dive into it. And it's like an hour and a half session once a month, run by Rebecca and her peers. We had one yesterday. It was very good about strategic planning. They do budgeting, financials, how to hire, what programs, running programs. So we've been doing that since we started as trustees. We also run our meetings twice a month. We just changed from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And I have to get with Andrea that we're moving it to the first and third Tuesdays, and we're going to start opening them up. So we're moving forward with our own meetings. They're going to be here until we're ready down the hill there. And last but not least, Megan is working on a children's program, and she's going to release that in the coming weeks to start getting our library out in the public. And she's going to present the details to us trustees this coming Tuesday.
Oh, Susanna Hill must be,
Oh,
she would be great at working.
very
on
good.
that.
Yeah.
oh, yeah. And then the other thing is we have these pamphlets, which we've been giving out. I'll leave some here for
Yeah,
the public. It's just, frequently asked questions, contact information, cue readers and
Very nice.
very nice.
the codes and all of that.
So you said-
Neighboring library, sorry, have they been receptive to meeting and?
Yes, the ones that we've reached out to, like Millbrook and LaGrange, yes. And other libraries, when we get on the calls, are like excited about Unionville and,
Great.
you can see on the chat.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's,
Well, and Megan, she's almost got her master's in library.
Yeah,
science, so that's really great that she really is well, versed. And she also has close friends on the other side of the river that run libraries.
yes,
So this is the perfect
Yeah,
spot for
she's
her.
the
She's
perfect
very excited.
candidate. And
You guys did a good job.
she just hit, I mean, you've seen, I mean, look what, she just hit the ground running.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Well, all of you have, really.
yeah,
Oh, you guys did too. You're right, John. You did.
yeah, but
really
she's
thank you.
just and well, I mean, I just can't. She's just amazing.
Big plus for the residents.
They're gonna
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, I think she's
people are
good.
shocked.
Yeah,
Good.
especially the kids.
And she just picked up on, I mean, she did all the research, right? So she knows about the history of Unionville, the town,
Wow.
and she can articulate it. Well, I mean, we had Peter Bonk come over to the table at Community Day. And you would think that, Megan has been a longtime resident, the way they were talking. You know what I
That's
mean?
great.
Like, how do you
She'll
know?
move here soon, right?
Yeah, right.
It's up.
She'll be
That's
right
great.
here.
Good.
So I'll leave this with you and.
Wonderful.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate all your hard work. You guys are, and
Yeah.
you're working in the background until that charter gets submitted.
Right,
But
right.
As soon
Everything's,
as that's out, everything will, as soon as you get that off your back, so to speak, we'll have
Right.
a nice, a new reintroduction of all of you and just can't thank you enough though.
yes. Oh, it's our
It'll
pleasure.
be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. very much.
Thank you.
You and all the other trustees.
So next up, we have Cassandra Redinger, who's president of the she's new president of the Unionville Historical Society. Thank you for coming.
No, thank you for having me. So, yep, I'm the president of the Unionville Historical Society. We had our meeting, our last meeting on August 9th. We had a picnic. Thank you
Mhm,
for
sure.
grilling.
No problem. Is it very
John
enjoyable?
Welch is a great grill master. I recommend. We have our meetings the second Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock. Our next meeting will be September 13th. We meet at the senior center. We would love to see new faces. Anybody interested in history, learning about the history of the town, liking to do research. And we are also looking for a treasurer. So if anybody's interested, we have an email. It's ubhistoricalsociety@gmail.com.
That's great. Well, we thank you for taking on the presidency. I know Peter Bonk was glad to get new officers in, wasn't it?
Yes, he was.
Said he'd been doing this for like 50 years or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I think people are going to really enjoy the new things that come. You've got some interesting members and officers.
We do.
Yeah, so it's
Yes,
gonna, I
so
think.
we're hoping for a lot of interesting and new things along the
to
way.
explore and come back and share some of your new things with us. We'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
All right.
All
And
right.
vice versa, we can go to them
Yes,
Yeah.
Go to the
yes.
meetings.
Every Wednesday or every
every
second
Wednesday when we're
Yes.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Well, good. Well, congratulations and
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank
We're
you.
glad
Yeah,
you did
Thanks
great.
for your efforts.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, that's wonderful. We have some good new committees and boards. Next up, our departmental reports. We have Parks. Mr. Gosnell, can you join us? Yours is a verbal report. We'll have some written by everybody else.
Hey, guys.
Good evening.
Good, yeah.
Not a ton this month. Community night was awesome. Went super well. Everybody seemed to have a really good time. The addition of all the tables out front was great. So that's awesome. The weather has been killing us, not as much as Ed and the highway department. We've gotten pretty lucky as far as, damage or anything like that goes, but it's just been a lot and it sets us back farther and farther. So, there's that. We only have 2 days of camp left, which is kind of exciting. And I really,
Awesome.
what?
Thought you were gonna say awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah, it's great. I really just want to say that I think that the rec department has done a really amazing job this year. They've dealt with everything. Everything's gone super smoothly. And Maggie's doing a really great job. Betsy talked about the recycling center. And again, like my guys stepped up pretty well, but I really want to say thank you to Vincent. I think Vincent has kind of stepped up pretty well with that and
I think he likes it.
yeah, I think he likes
He might
having
like
a
going to the
little bit more
recycling
stuff
center.
going on. So it's
Yeah.
good. He's done a really good job. And then we'll talk about it a little bit later, but just things starting with the Godfrey Park playground. So that's
Okay.
exciting as well. So
So you're still mowing?
yeah,
You got all that till?
still mowing until probably November, when it's not raining.
Yeah.
That never stops.
Yeah, if it
Never
ever stops raining. Yeah,
That's good.
so
Well, that's wonderful. Well, you can sit tight if you want. We really appreciate you're gonna be involved with it, one of the next conversations, but your guys really have done a great job. And I have to say, Maggie, we were talking about right after COVID and all the misbehaving children down there and how tough that, that first summer was. Kids were bouncing off the wall, they were pushing each other and they were this year calm. Maggie's so calm and even tempered, everything, very few issues. Place was back to normal.
I mean, we still have 2 days left, so
Yeah, I guess
knock
that's
on wood, but
We'll report
but,
next time, but it's looking good. They did a nice
yeah,
job.
things are great.
Good. All right, next up, Councilman Welsh, would you like to read the recreation report from Maggie?
Sure, I'd be
Collins?
glad to. Okay, our final session for summer camp ends this Friday. We want to thank all the staff in the office, aquatics, camp, and maintenance that helped make another successful summer season. We hope everyone has a great school year. We look forward to welcoming campers back at Timor Park next summer. Starting this Monday, we'll be running our summer TGTT program for students K through 5th grade. And we will run on weekdays from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. until September 1st. Dates are filling up quickly. Registration is open on the Parks and Rec website. We are looking forward to planning our annual Oktoberfest event to be held on Sunday, September 17th from noon till 7 p.m. The public will enjoy the music, dancing, theme games with prizes, and of course, the traditional food and drinks. More information will be posted on our social media pages as we get closer.
Thank you, Councilman. Constable report. Councilman Miller, would you like to read that one?
Sure. Constables patrolled approximately 645 miles of town roads, including all properties, filling the Explorer with 30.6 gallons of gasoline. The 2 town court dates total 10 cases on the dockets with 1 actual appearance, and 2 cases were pled not guilty by mail. There were no issues to report. Constable reported the following during patrols: parking ticket issued for parking after hours at Timor, ATV riding at Equestrian Center, Town Hall, then into park. No officer contacted the operator. Appearance ticket issued for noise violation. 2 parking tickets issued for parking after hours at Timor. Again, responded to a noise complaint. Homeowner complied and lowered volume. No further action required. Respectfully submitted, George Trevor.
I would add to the council report that they had their very thorough annual training last weekend, and the report back from the instructor was that they were all excellent. They
All requalified.
all requalified. Everybody did a great job. They be practice shooting. They do all the use of force, everything the state requires. They did a good job. And it was handled by a good instructor. Next up, Councilman Gussit, and do the animal control report. Thank you.
Animal control report for the month of July 2023. During the month of July, there were 2 found dogs, 1 lost dog, 1 dog bite, and 1 complaint, respectively, in Mary Jane County.
Great, all right. As far as old business, which we'll move into now, regarding Godfrey Park Playground. So as everybody recalls, we got that $100,000 grant from the county, which was excellent, very exciting. We got a wonderful committee of people from on the green and in the surrounding area to be part of the committee to help. They came in, they picked the playground design they wanted. The town will be putting in, I think it was an extra 58,000. So I think the total is around 158. I don't have the prices with me, but we're around there. So they're going to have the playground is a Miracle Playground, which is one of the oldest playground manufacturing companies. It turns out that was the Time Warner. They were the first company that invented the merry-go-round.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Wow.
over 100 years ago. So it ended up, they won the competition. There were lots of people that came in, but that the group picked them. And so this week, Jake and his crew are demolishing the current playground, which can't happen soon enough. I mean, we couldn't believe all the bees on the sand and all the equipment's on sand, just like they complained about when they were here.
Yeah, the bees really are terrible. I mean, and we're working in them and they don't bother you,
Yeah.
but they're just, it's.
They're annoying. Yeah.
There's sand bees and they're
Yeah.
everywhere. You wouldn't want your child playing that.
No.
So they're gonna remove it all this week. Our good friend, Willie Murphy, who owns the Iron Furnace, who's an excavator during the day. Willie Murphy is gonna wait for them to break everything down, and then he's gonna come over and use his excavator to pull out the footings. So that's gonna be hard for us. Mike Baroni, the Baroni cart people, the metal people are willing to bring over a cart to let the guys put the metal pieces right in there instead of having to haul it to the recycling center
Oh,
and take up
great.
that space. So that's really nice. So everything's coming together beautifully. So that'll be demolished. And then the week of September 21, 22, and 23, the new playground will be installed.
Wow.
And I say 23 because this is called a community build, which this community, especially over there, is very excited about. So basically, the guys bring everything in a truck, they do the footings, they do all the heavy duty stuff, and then on Saturday, bless you, on Saturday, the community gets together and they get to, I'm not sure what they do, tighten the bolts. They can't.
Yeah, I've never been to one,
Never
so
been.
I don't know.
Built. But that was one of the, another reason why they picked this company. They want to be involved and he encourages the community build. So the third day is a community build and I think they're gonna have some sort of a party over there. Then we scheduled a ribbon cutting sometime in October. I haven't given that date out yet because I couldn't remember what it was, but we did agree to a ribbon cutting. And they're just very excited to have it. And they're hoping to plan to a little add-on for a year or so down the road. And everybody will be expected to be there. If you all, everybody's invited to September 23rd. All right, so that's a big deal for Godfrey and on the green in that whole area. 11.2, okay. I will admit that I never want to do this again, but we did finish the salt shed grant. We submitted it. It's very thorough. It was a very unique grant from the perspective of it's a water quality improvement program grant. So everything was about water.
Mhm.
And as you all know from the CAC and from probably the old timers know it anyway, that highway garage and all of Cloak Valley pretty much sits on an aquifer.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the beginning of the Fishkill Creek.
Yeah, exactly. And so that whole aquifer needs to be protected because there's a lot of drinking water connected with that aquifer. So what we put into our grant request was a very efficiently designed by Ed Kading and Tom Harvey. Ed had an idea how we could do it without wasting money because we were all, remember in our board meeting when we were fearful it was going to be an $800,000 project.
Yeah.
Well, Ed said, no, we'll come up with a different design. He and Tom worked where you use a pole shed on top of very high cement, very thick cement wall
Mhm.
with the proper padding of asphalt stuff on the floor and all this. We have to have things to catch the water. And we're going to have a water rinsing area, but all that water has to be captured and put back in a tank so it can be used as brine or to mix with salt when you put it through the shredder or the distributor and it gets all clumpy. So there's got some really good things in it, and that total came to 358. which would mean that the town would be responsible for 25% if we get the grant. The other thing I wanted to mention that we put in there is that if they were to give us this money, which I think attending the Lula conference, Josh isn't here, but Josh Redinger from the CAC, the zoning board, the planning board, and I went from the town board to this land use alliance conference. That was very helpful because a lot of the stuff they talked about in those 3 days, we were there for 4 Fridays in a row. That went into that grant. A lot of the information from that conference, they were interested in hearing back from us, it seemed to me. So I used a lot of that in answering the questions. But the one thing is that they want, if they give us the money, and they may or may not, I don't know. But if they end up giving us the money, they want us to show them that we do have an annual maintenance report, which Ed imposes on all the trucks. But they want something in writing where they could say, this money was a good investment for the state. We could say, here are our annual reports. We've done this, this, and this. And Ed does that with everything, so it won't be a problem. We just have to make sure it's in writing and that they can investigate. That's the one thing I had to commit to before we had all discussed it. We did sign our dog housing contract with that new company, Mutt Mansions, new to us, which everybody was thrilled about. We talked about it last month. That was signed, accepted, and done. So we are up and running with the dog housing. The guidelines for short-term residential rentals that we are not gonna adopt that resolution tonight. What happened, there was some sort of misfire when the whole package went over to the county. So when they wanted to talk to me about it last Friday, we were on the phone. And they realized from what we were comparing was that they were looking at a different version of the same package that we had approved in the resolution of introduction. It was slightly different, and so some of the language wasn't in there. So they said, okay, they still had informal comments for us. They said, we're not going to do anything formal, just resubmit the exact package, because there was some language in the final one that, remember, in the red box that George and I and you guys put in. Okay, so that was all in there. And some of the residents, we had 2 residents gave us some good comments. We had put those in. They didn't get that. It was just something to do with the glitch on what was grabbed, this automatic, you have to do everything online now. So I told them we weren't in any hurry. We can have this done by the end of the year. So on September 6th, we're going to review, I'm going to give you guys on email or in your packages, all the comments they made that they were throwing out, but they're not putting them in writing and doing it formally until after they get the final thing.
Okay.
So we'll discuss it. We'll come up with what we want out of their suggestion, put it in, resubmit it, and then we can approve it. So that's why that's delayed. Security system update upgrades. I mentioned those. We've gotten quotes from, now we're up to 2 companies. It's been very hard to find a third that would match what we need. So we have 2, one of which is on, I think it's on state bid. One of them actually services the county as well. So we have a couple of different very good things to compare. So that will be done in executive session because of the security nature, but it's very important. Next, if we could go to this escrow fee schedule in your packages.
Yeah.
There is a single page. And basically, we talked about this in a couple different meetings. Remember, we had this one that had all these breakdowns that didn't match the code in the town center area anymore. So what I talked to Nan, our town planner, and what we came up with, whereas we used to have one that was based on $1,000 per unit up to 20 units, and then there was commercial up to so many square feet and commercial up to 3,000, then 10,000. It was $10,000 for 10,000 square feet. We don't have all of that anymore because we've got the 50% green, the conservation subdivision. So here's what we're proposing. The site plan escrow fees would be this. Multifamily residential, which we're permitting up to 12 units. Multifamily in our definition are apartments. So we haven't permitted any more than 12 apartments. There's only one complex that was interested anyway. So I think might have 10 if he doesn't. So multifamily residential will be $1,000 per unit up to 12 units. Okay, commercial up to 2,500 square feet, which is the amount of commercial in TC, and we can talk about this rest of the town later. $5,000, which is matches before. And then the last one, the way we left it was all other projects. Escrow requests will be dependent upon estimates from consultants. They're project specific. We just left it like that.
Good idea.
I think it was a little bit easier than
Yeah, gives some flexibility.
yeah. So if you all like that during our motion section of the meeting, we're going to make a motion and just pass it because it's
Good. Yeah.
kind of open-ended and then okay. The defibrillators for town hall, parks, and highway. Let me show you this. In your package, there is a cardiac light.
Yeah.
See this?
Yeah.
Okay. So we discussed this at our last meeting. And in our work session, the AEDs in town hall are outdated, the ones down in recreation are outdated, the pads are, we can't use them. Actually, they still work, we turn them on, they do work, but the pads are not allowed to use anymore. And they quit making them, so we do have to get more. So we went back, the Philips model, basically there is a company that is on the New York State bid that does a fabulous job, because Cardiac Life I'm talking about. And they are on state bid, but what they do is they put all of your system in their computer. And 2 months before your pads are warranted to go dead and where you have to replace them, they actually call you and tell you. This will be great for the town clerk's office. She'll get the call and she'll tell everybody, okay, time's up. So for the pads and for the batteries that have 4-year life expectancies, but you have to know in advance or they're going to be rendered useless,
Yeah.
really, right?
Mhm.
So anyway, this company does a lot of outreach communication wise. So we like this company. We talked about it at one of our other meetings, but then we added extra quotes to make sure that all of our properties. Basically, she's recommending Heart Sign, the Samaritan, the one you have here.
Mhm.
And the reason is versus the Philips, which we had before, which is no longer outdated, is because this has a what's it? It's a static, it has a static performances as opposed to, no, Philips has static, so it doesn't adjust. The Heart Sign by Cardiac is one that varies based on, for example, if one was a child or one was an adult, they would vary the tone of what the pulse of what is sent out. And the Philips doesn't have that. It's just a static model. So anyway, after a long talk with the nurse and what she would recommend, what we came up with was based on her recommendation, and it is a lot cheaper than we thought the other ones were. They're about 13 something a piece. And we did not have this in the budget this year. We weren't aware of the fact that they were outdated. So it's a big ticket item. If we get one for town hall, the adult version, we get an adult version for we don't have anything at the highway department. So one at highway, we would have a different one in recreation. It would be one plus pediatric, and then at the pool plus pediatric. So those 4 models, the pediatric version where it pulses right towards that, they could tell from ages or weights and stuff. It will pulse differently, and that is an extra $225 for each one. So the total purchase for those 4 would be $5,110. Now, the good news is that, the bad news is that we didn't think of the recycling center. Now, that's a public place. People are in and out. They're not staying there for hours like at the recycling center. We don't have a lot of employees there, but we do have 2. It wouldn't be a bad thing to have in the booth there. And Andrea and I were talking about it today. Sometimes, people come in there and you feel like they're not feeling great. They're carrying heavy things. So maybe it would be a good thing. And I said, oh my God, we already spent, if we buy it, it's $5,110. But I want to mention to you, it's not a budget item, but we do have $20,000 put aside in the contingency fund.
Yeah.
And we have spent none of it.
Well, let me ask you this, the one at the pool doesn't need to be there after the pool
After the
closes.
pool closes.
So could we use that as a trade-off somewhere else?
For the recycling center?
Yeah,
I don't know why not. I mean, they just wouldn't have coverage in the summer.
well,
I guess in the
It's a lot
off
better
season,
than-
what do they do with it? That one comes in a box. Do you bring it into the office and just hold it there? So,
I don't know if it would need to be in a heated environment though, because 4 days a week, that place is closed.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, that's why we bring it inside and put it in the closet.
Yeah,
because
so it's not
that'll
really
just kill the
practical to keep one
batteries.
there.
The cold.
Yeah,
it's cold, it's cold and it's hot, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so we can ask about temperatures.
Maybe we could buy some kind of a unit to keep it in. That would be temperature controlled.
She might recommend a different unit for that, this
Yeah.
nurse that I'm dealing with, okay. All right, so I would suggest then, in our last meeting, we said you gotta have this kind of stuff because you just never know, and all it does is hold it over until the ambulance comes, but it's an important thing to have.
Sure, to
And
save a life.
yeah, so I think in the last meeting, it seemed like everybody wanted to proceed with it.
Mhm.
I wasn't sure are we gonna pay for it. I want to make sure you were aware of the dollars. So at this point, we can spend the 5110, 5110.
Yeah, 5110.
Okay, and we could spend that, and I would recommend that we pull it out of the contingent fund, which we haven't spent yet, and we're, the second half of the year now, so I think we're probably in pretty good shape financially.
Good.
We know we're in good shape financially, but I don't see us having to hit that for an emergency.
Yep.
So if you like that idea during the motion section, we can vote on it there.
Good.
And then I'll come back to you in September. We'll get a recommendation for an area like the recycling center, and then you just got to store the one from the pool section in a safe spot. Okay. All right, so there we are. And I think it's great, the service from these people, the cost of life is not as long as some of these, as the Phillips, and the service that they put us on this computer system and get in touch with us regularly will help us immensely. So, all right, next up is our defibrillate Gaelic football fields, an update there. You started to hint about that, Jake, but people were there at the meeting with the Gaelic, the Dutchess County Gaelic Athletic Association. We had 2 of their members here. They're very much excited about being a part of the Time War community. They've had good success so far. They like it here. We like them.
Yeah.
So do you all want to talk about the fields and what we kind of came up with that day or this week?
Yeah, I mean, so we got, the topographic survey done of the fields right
Down
down the
here.
hill. And then, we had Tom Harvey worked on some ideas for down there, and it became really apparent really fast that the field is a lot bigger than I think a lot of people thought it was. And, it would take a lot of excavation, and we'd have to work on the drainage down here. So it's a much bigger project, I think, than we originally
So
thought.
you should tell everybody the Gaelic football fields are 475.7
Feet long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big field.
Yeah.
So then there was the thought of maybe looking up by where our existing full-size soccer field is. And we, it's doable to fit one in there and still keep a full-size field up there. And the Gaelic guys were really open to it,
With less drainage, right?
Yes.
In theory, yeah, it's first up on a hill.
We'd have to level
Yeah, it's got
Yeah.
a lot of grade issue.
Yeah.
Needs
So-
to have another topographical survey.
Yeah.
exactly.
them. Yeah, for sure.
Just to see what we'd be
Sure.
working with,
Yeah. But it
But
seems to fit on its face.
And there wouldn't be
Yeah.
a redoing of all the pipes like we'd have to do here. All those pipe, that drainage is.
Be a lot of
Exactly.
expense to drain that.
exactly.
lower.
That-
So, theoretically, it would be a much less cost, it wouldn't be as costly of a project to do it.
And
up
it
there.
would fit better up top.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's enough space.
Yeah.
It was beautiful about, I think, not only working with them because they appreciate being here so much, they love the way the place looks. And, but the field itself doesn't need astroturf, which we can't have here. It doesn't need permanent structures. They just need big space that's marked for them. And then when they're not using it, it could be used by others. So it's multi-purpose for us, which is great. So.
Yeah.
And then we talked about, they like being here so much and their program is growing. And one of the reasons they need this huge field, football field that's much bigger, is because their kids, they started this program, 3 years ago, do you say 3 or 4? The kids are now aging out. So once they get to, is it over 13 or
They're
17?
over 13, yeah, they need the
They
full
need,
size.
they need a full-size fields, and they're constantly driving down places. So then they were talking about, well, if you put that new library in, then mom can be up there in the cyber cafe with the kids doing homework while the other one's doing soccer. I mean, they were finding a lot of cross-purpose, uses with this, and they're bringing people from all over New York.
It is also really neat to think that there are only 2 others in,
Fields,
2 other
That's a good
Gaelic,
distance away.
yeah, I don't even want to say locally because it's not locally, so I mean, we would be one of 3.
But how they
between the
really look,
city
I
and
asked them
all
if they checked Riverview Field in Poughkeepsie, they didn't even hear of it. So I don't think they've done too much research.
I don't think
Well,
And that-
I mean,
that's
as
the
far
thing.
as like,
he didn't care.
He never heard of it.
Well, he said his best friend is that guy that runs all the parks.
Yeah, well, he didn't seem to know anything about it.
Is that a full-size Gaelic field?
I don't know, but it's a big field.
Oh, maybe it's not big
I
enough.
spoke to them on community tonight. I think someplace in southern Connecticut.
Mhm.
And the other one is in Monroe, New York. That's the distance
Yeah.
between.
The Bronx. Isn't that
Yeah.
the Bronx?
Yep,
Oh, it's in
yeah.
the Bronx.
yeah, down in the city,
Okay.
down in Queens,
And then Monroe.
yeah, I know there were 2 others
Yeah.
that they were
It's a
talking
good
about, so
distance.
I
Well,
get.
it's a good drive for a family.
Yeah.
Every Saturday they have to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So anyway, it went well. There's positive reviews on both sides, but now I guess the next steps are doing that topographical survey, finding how much that will cost.
How much fill you need?
How much fill you need to put on the field to level it and make it an appropriate football field. Yeah. And like I said, they could do it, what, in 2 months, right?
Yeah, there you go.
I had no idea. I'm sorry. I had no idea how long these guys are educating me on how to fix the fields. How that they can do it in the fall. I didn't think that was a big deal. See, we still, it is much more intricate than I ever did. So, but I'm glad to have everybody on the team. All right, new business.
I'm gonna head out, guys. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Have a good night. Okay, so we have an interesting, I did forget to tell you, I talked to Frank Rettel, you know, from the Rettel
Yeah,
property.
property donator, yeah.
A wonderful property, the nephew of, I guess. And I'd said to him that that sign was still there. And did they want that sign back? Because it was a pretty large for sale sign. It's been there 15 years. And did they want it back or did they want us to take it down? And so he said that it would take him a long time to get 2 guys over there and that we should feel free because they would just throw it away. So we'd rather have the highway guys or something do it, that we can take it down. And one of the reasons I asked him that, we've been getting some calls about it, and I have a resident who wrote me recently, Betsy, I would love to help you figure out some options for planning and landscaping a parcel on the corner of Route 9 and Route 82 that was given to the town of Unionville. I have experience in renovating and restoring public parks like Central Park and Wagner Park in New York City, and the Cutting Arboretum on Long Island. I have also served as president of the Innisfree Garden Foundation in Millbrook for several years. I'm an architect in New York City with a weekend house in Burbank. Please let me know if I can be of assistance as you try to envision a park that is an asset to our community.
That's nice. What a very qualified person.
Yes, and when she.
Is this volunteering on her part?
I think so, but what I would do is, since we had a couple people that said they'd enjoyed being on advisory committee, but the ideas were, can we have a park or can we have a section of a community garden where we could grow some vegetables or whatever? And so I thought what we could do is invite Jean to give it some thought. It's hard to see that over there. I mean, nothing's been clear.
Yeah.
You know, it's been over.
Yeah,
So we may want to figure out, look at the parcel map and then figure out what might be easy to, so it's a little bit easy to discern exactly where the water is, because we know there's a wetland there, we know Sprout Creek runs through. So that would all have to be incorporated in design, and if we could make it possible for people to see a little bit, we could ask Jean to come take a look and then tell us what her thoughts are, and does she want it to be a pricey item, or is she gonna volunteer her time and then we have plans or whatever?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's preliminary, but
but
it's.
yes, it's very, she's very qualified based on this.
Yeah. So nothing to vote on yet, because we can appoint an advisory council at any time.
Mhm.
I know the supervisor, that's one of the things we can do. So why don't we do that and then have her come back to us, but then we'll work with her on what needs to be cleared so they can see,
Okay,
and the other people that were interested too, okay?
Yeah, so that overgrowth could be really safe for people going on to 82.
was just thinking about that.
it is, yeah.
That's a hard turn over there, so.
Yeah, the county, you know, they said they sent those 4 designs, which we're going to bring up again, but that wasn't going to be in their budget until 24, 25.
Yeah.
So that this is the
Anything
lingering.
DOT takes
Yeah.
takes forever.
So
Yeah.
it's not that it's a no, they want to
Yeah.
do it. But it's not gonna, you're right, it's gonna be a while. But then Jean, when she spoke to me, she was talking about what an absolutely beautiful corner that could be forever.
Oh,
You
good.
know, with the design and then with the water there, it could be absolutely
Sure.
stunning. And if we had some beds for the people that want to grow garden,
Mhm.
I mean, vegetables, that would be fun. So, okay, so that's where we are right now. Next up,
Intermunicipal arrangement.
yeah, so this is, I wanted to talk to you about this and then we can bring it next month if we want to, in writing. So the town of Washington, the assessor has communicated with Eric and myself, our assessor and myself. And the idea is that they are like us, but they were almost the same in population. I think we're 5 or 7 difference in population. And they have a board of assessment review that is comprised of 3 people. And we have the same number in ours, which is small. Most of the bigger towns have 5 or more. So we have 3 people. So if somebody on a board of assessment review decides they want to grieve their own parcel, there's 2 people left on the board because right, and then you've got an even number.
Yeah.
And it's a little awkward. So what they would like to do, and I talked to Gary Safari tonight, the supervisor, and again, it's just one of those things that keeps everything above reproach. If somebody from a board of assessment review wants to grieve their own property, that we could send them over to the town of Washington to do it in front of 3
Oh, that makes sense.
objective
Yeah,
people that are involved.
Yeah.
And if one of their people comes, it's an ethical concern of theirs, and it's also something that keeps everybody above reproach. If one of their people has the same, they could come over here, and our three objective people could.
Sure.
So
Sounds like a great idea.
we may or may not ever use it, because nobody might ever agree, but it's a pretty straightforward document, and we'll both agree to it, and we should be good.
Yeah,
And they don't grieve until next May again, so we got
Right,
time,
yeah.
but again, if you like it, we'll get it for next, we'll
Good
put it
idea.
on there for next year, okay. So we'll get that done, which I think will look good. Number 12.3. So Oktoberfest is coming around again, and you all remember that we started dedicating our tip jars, the tip sums in the tip jars, and last year we dedicated them to Matt Wapshinick.
Yes.
And I think Kevin Derlin has something to offer.
Yeah, so Matt's best friend, Will Willie, has kind of provided us with a little update, so I'm gonna read that off right
Well,
now.
actually, I forgot to get background on Matt Wapshinick. Does everybody remember what happened to him last year? Do you want to tell him? Kevin?
Yeah, so Matt basically broke his neck diving into Lake George, I believe it was, right?
no, it was on pool.
I think it was a.
Oh, it was a pool?
At his house.
Oh, sorry, it was a pool.
We're back.
His neck, I guess.
Yeah, so I guess he broke his neck and now he's a
Quadriplegic,
Yeah,
yes.
quadriplegic. So, you know, he's got a long road ahead, but he's been improving. Over the last year, he had the accident just about a year ago, or just over a year ago. So Will Willie, his best friend, provided us with a little bit of an update, and so Matt has worked extremely hard in the last year since his accident on August 5th, 2022. He's been working with a physical therapist and has an occupational therapist 2 times per week, plus a private physical therapist. 3 additional days to try and get the maximal function that he can get back. Matt has a long road ahead, but is keeping his head up and is ready to put in the hard work, as he always was a hardworking guy. Quitting is not an option for him, but not being able to work is definitely a struggle for a guy with his ethics. Hopefully we can get there someday. He thanks everyone for all of the help last year and has put him ahead of where he was 1 year ago today. Will Woolley.
That's great.
Yeah. So I think we're still considering, dedicating the tip jars, that we should maybe consider doing that for Matt again.
Yeah, I think, now that we've got the new tradition of dedicating the tip jars, because people tip whether we ask, we tell them not to, and they do anyway. So it's a nice gesture to give it to a resident in need, and all this therapy that he's got is extremely expensive on behalf of the family. So we don't know what the tip jars will bring, but anything is welcome, and
Sure.
if it's
Every little bit helps.
okay with the board, then we will dedicate them and decorate. Oh, here we go. Ladies in town hall wanted you to see, this is what the tip jar would look like, like for a raffle ticket, and this is for a raffle ticket, but we do one for Matt. And there's been posters done for Matt. These are tentative ones, and it shows his dad had his car made.
Oh, how
With a
nice.
special door cut out so he can get in and out in that special
Wow.
chair that they've got. And he now, according to Gary Wapshinick, he said his arms can go up. But his hands aren't up, but his arms are going up. So if they throw him a ball, he's putting his arms together and throwing it back. So, and he was 27 last year, I think, when he dove in. But anyway, so here he is, and here's his dog sitting on his lap, and he's had a rough go, but he's gotten better. So we're thinking, Mary and Elise made these, I'll pass these, you guys can look at them, that's what we would hang above the kegs. But they make a tip jar like this, and they put them in front of the beer taps and all around where people buy tickets. And last year, people really enjoyed the fact that they could help somebody with those tips, and so anyway, I think we should make a motion that we dedicate the 2023 proceeds.
Mhm.
You want to finish that?
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we dedicate the proceeds from any tips at the Oktoberfest to help Matt.
Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
All right,
Any opposed? No. Motion carries. The 2023 tip jar proceeds, whatever they may be, will go to Matt Marcus.
his buddy's coming again to serve like last year, because they really got the crowd.
They're gonna rally the troops.
Yeah, good. They
So
really got
that's
the crowd
friends.
moving to help Matt.
Help, yeah. His dad will be there, his brothers will be there, is my understanding, and
Good.
it will be a,
They did a great job last year.
yeah.
I know Will dedicates a lot of time to help,
He does.
whatever he needs to drive
Oh,
him back and
good.
forth to therapy, he's really a good.
Oh,
friend.
nice.
Yeah,
Good.
such a nice guy.
Very
Yeah.
concerned.
We have another close group, close knit groups here, and he's a
Yeah.
gun club guy. I mean, he's
Yeah.
been part of that fabric, so he's a little bit in the northern part of the town. So
Yeah.
He's more well-known there, but
Mhm.
wonderful group. So anyway, that's a lovely gesture. Thank you, everybody. I'm sure everybody feels good about that one. Now we're in our resolutions and motions portion where we mentioned we're deferring the vote on the short-term rental units until we
Yes,
make
next
it.
month.
Yeah, we got lots of time, but
Right.
we'll get it done. On 13.2, I did forget to mention this, but I wanted to make sure that we approve any. The planning board, I think it would benefit them greatly to have another training session with Nan, our town planner. And it's not very expensive, but we're at that limit, we didn't put it in before, but we do have a contingent fund. I don't know what the fee would be. Let's say it's a couple $1,000s for 1 or 2 more sessions. But I think all these changes in the zoning are complicated, and some of the people coming in with plans are coming with complicated plans, and they immediately want to push the edges.
Yeah.
So I think it would help them to go through the training session with
Sure.
Nan again. I'd like to approve up to $4,000, let's say. And we do have a contingent fund, and I'm not sure that the planning board budget is not over yet, but we'll keep everybody posted as to how that's going.
Mhm.
I don't think we're gonna spend that amount, but we need to be able to give them the training they need with her.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
And I don't,
Should take in the escrow fees into consideration. Like this is part of the budget, maybe as part of the escrow fees.
well, that you're right about that, because for every, she does bill when she comments.
If you're gonna do it every year,
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good idea.
somehow figure it.
Some
bump
put
everything
that
up a
in
little bit.
as part of that. Maybe when we do the estimate on the pricing, put that in as
Right.
part ongoing
That's a
training.
piece of it that you add to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a consultant necessary for that project. You're
Yeah.
right, Kevin.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, very good idea. All right, so we'll add that, and why don't we don't need to approve amount, we'll just approve the fact that they can get the extra training, and then we'll
Yeah.
show it when it comes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
But not sure of the price.
okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve, I'd say at least a minimum of 2 more sessions with Nan and as well, as needed. And we'll go from there.
All right,
Is there a second?
yeah, I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Motion carries. 13.3, may I have a motion to approve the expenditure for the defibrillators as priced out for you this evening?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve defibrillators from Cardiac Life for a total of $5,110.
Second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 No one's opposed, motion carries. Now we have a resolution of introduction, as mentioned, about the constable residency, and there'll be, I believe that Councilman Gusikoff has that. Do you mind reading that resolution?
Sure.
Thank you.
A resolution of introduction, a local law of the town of Unionville, Dutchess County, New York, to amend Town Code Chapter 12 to delete the residency requirement for constables. Being enacted by the Town Board of Unionville as follows: Section 1. Findings: the Town Board of the Town of Unionville has determined that in its best interest in the town of Unionville to allow for the hiring and the appointment of constables who are not residents of the town, allowing for an expanded pool of potential constables will help to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the town and its residents and others. Section 2, Town Code Section 12-3A is hereby amended to read as follows: in accordance with the Town Law Section 39 and Public Officers Law Section 3, a constable shall be a citizen of the United States, not required to be a resident of the town of Unionville, but must be a resident of the state of New York. Section 3, this local law shall take effect immediately upon filing this state Secretary of State. In the order to effect this amendment pursuant to the municipal home rule law of the state of New York, it will be necessary to hold a public hearing upon this law. Councilman offering the following resolution, which was second.
I didn't skip that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas August 16, 2023, the town board has introduced this local law to be known as local law number 2 of 2023, entitled a local law of the town of Unionville, Dutchess County, New York, to amend town code chapter 12 to delete the residency requirement for constables. Now therefore be it resolved that the public hearing be held in relation to the proposed changes as set forth in the form of notice hereinafter provided, and which hearings parties of interest and residents shall have an opportunity to be heard, to be held in Town Hall, 249 Duncan Road, LaGrangeville, New York, 12540, in the town of Unionville. on September 20th, 2023, at 7:00 PM prevailing time, and that notice said meeting shall be published in the official newspaper of general circulation in the town of Unionville by the town clerk at least 5 days prior to such hearing, and that notice shall be of the following form. Notice of public hearing. Take notice that the town board of the town of Unionville will hold a public hearing at the town hall, 249 Duncan Road, LaGrangeville, New York, 12540, in the town of Unionville, on September 20th, 2023, at 7:00 PM, on the following proposed local law, to be known as local law number 2 of 2023, entitled "A Local Law of the Town of Unionville, Dutchess County, New York, to amend the town code chapter 12 to delete the residency requirement for constables." Take further notice that the copies of aforesaid proposed law will be available for examination at the office of the clerk of town of Unionville at the town hall, 249 Duncan Road, LaGrangeville, New York, 12540, in the town of Unionville, between the hours of 9 AM and 4 PM on all business days, between the date of this notice and the date of public hearing. Take further notice that all persons interested and citizens that shall have an opportunity to be heard on said proposed at the time and place aforesaid. And be it further resolved that the adoption of this local law, which relates to an ongoing administration of town affairs with no major recording of priorities or programs which might affect the environment, is a type 2 action requiring no environmental review.
And thank you for offering that resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Just by way of explanation, we've been talking about this for months.
Yes.
It's a great idea. Yeah.
It's like any other market. It's hard to find people anyway, so to go, and the state of New York is important because they all get the same training. It's required by.
Sure.
So, all right, we'll have a public hearing in a month. If there's no further discussion, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Derlin.
Aye.
Councilman Bezakov.
Aye.
Councilman Welch.
Aye.
Supervisor Mott.
Aye. All right, looks like resolution of introduction for local law number 2 passes. We will talk further with the residents about that next month. All right, well, that's all we have in our motions and the resolutions. May I have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any public comments on town issues? Anybody like to talk about? No,
I have
okay,
one, not really a comment, but the blood drive, I wanted to mention that.
yes,
One of our town residents is working with the New York Blood Center, and they're hosting a blood drive here at Timor Park. The date is August 24th, and it's going to be in the senior center from 2 to 6:30. And they have a cute little thing. It's called Tap into Saving Lives. Because if you give blood, you get a free beverage, whether it be a beer or a soda, from a participating venue. So it's a win-win for everybody.
right after you get blood. huh?
Maybe wait a little while.
Great, so that's August 20.
Thursday,
Yep,
next week.
Thursday, August
tomorrow.
24th, from 2 to 6:30 at the.
Great, okay, thanks for reminding, that's great. All right, does anybody have any other comments they'd like to make?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that, all in favor, say aye. Aye, all right, thank you, everybody. Meeting is over. Thank you for coming. Thank you all for being here, Art and Sandra.
Where was Kevin McGivney?